I love art. It's been my entire life. It can be a stepping stone to conversation. It can be a stepping stone to new friendships. It can be a stepping stone to open your mind up a little bit about something that maybe you've never thought of. I just feel very committed to pass on what I've learned.
It came about in a roundabout way. Dorothy had applied to the Clayton Visual Arts poster contest, and as an artist she did not conform to the rules, and she created a poster that was against the poster regulations. Her poster was round and it was supposed to be rectangular.
It was very colorful, and that's what caught my eye to begin with. And then the color sort of drew me in, and as I started looking at the content, I realized that it really was very relevant to Clayton.
Steve Biggs, our town manager, saw the image when it was on display, and he loved it, and he thought it would be a wonderful idea to have the image created as a mural in our town hall.
Dorothy's mural was somewhat of like a social experiment, because it was the first time that Clayton town government had decided that we needed a public art piece, and we felt like we had the perfect art piece with Dorothy's work, patchwork, and we felt like we had the perfect place for it to be installed and used.
Well, it was interesting to watch Dorothy's creation. She sketched the mural out first, so that was interesting to watch it just kind of come to life.
You know, I just went around town taking pictures. This actually did get used, and then it's not white, it's blue, I think. Yeah.
I think Dorothy and I had talked about that the mural needed an animal. Every town had the stray cat, the stray dog in it, and I just happened to have one available. So I brought Dorothy some pictures of Charlie, and she was able to draw him into the mural.
I guess as it began to be finished, as it got to a point where people could really see what it was going to look at, and we saw the number of just regular folks who were coming through and really spending time engaging Dorothy, that's when we realized we had a good project.
We would have parents bring in kids, and they would come upstairs and just stop because the colors were so vibrant, and the storytelling and the pattern and everything that was going on, you know, just created a very quick connection, you know, and that's what public art does. Public art brings people together. Public art creates connection, and it builds community.
You know, I think it shows where Clayton has come from, and gives people who weren't here. We have so many people here now that did not grow up in Clayton, so it can give them a sense of what Clayton was and where Clayton has come from.
My father went in business with 4 more fellows, and there was 5 of them, and they called the company B.M. Robertson and Company, and he bought them out later, and it became B.M. Robertson Mule Company. He changed it to that. And then he built this building here in 1914, like I said. And probably those mule heads on the front started at that time.
You will see so many different stories coming out of each section of the patchwork that it definitely does give the flavor of the town of Clayton.
Yeah, in fact, by the time that mural was finished, I felt like I'd lived here a lifetime. It was a joy. It truly was a joy to do that. You know, they took a chance. They stepped out. They took a chance. They thought they knew what they were getting, and most likely, you know, luckily I was able to produce.
And a lot of towns say that they're an arts community or talk a good game in the arts, but they're not really doing things. And, you know, we're making sure that our arts program is growing on a year-to-year basis.
I hope that in Clayton's future, that public art really just explodes like a piece of dynamite. I hope that we have it all around the town. The arts are not just in a little downtown area or just not located in a cultural arts facility, but that the arts are truly just all throughout the community. I want to see it everywhere.
Each month, Clayton Visual Arts features the colorful creations of exceptional artists on the walls of the Clayton Center. For October, the popular free exhibition became a family affair, spotlighting two talented in-laws. Tom Hale is a nationally recognized painter who lives in Richmond, Virginia, but whose ties to Clayton run deep. His wife hails from the Hocutt and Ellington families, some of Clayton's longest-standing names, and his son, Mark, is raising his family here. At this month's artist reception, we asked Mark about having both dad and mother-in-law sharing the honors together.
Yeah, it's kind of strange to have them both here at the same time, but I think it's a great honor to have their work displayed in Clayton. And Tom Hale, my dad, is sorry he couldn't be here, but I think he sent a good collection down here, and I hope everyone enjoys it.
So that's why I just wanted to say
Oh,
that.
I
love you.
Mark's wife, Susan, was on hand to congratulate the other half of this unique in-law artist pairing, her mother, Dorothy Demboski. Also an award-winning artist, Demboski moved to Clayton 8 years ago to be closer to her daughter and grandchildren and quickly became a mover and shaker in the Clayton art scene.
Actually, that house right there is my daughter's house.
Demboski's work became a permanent part of the Clayton Center when she was recently chosen to paint this outrageously fun and colorful mural, Clayton Patchwork, on the second floor of Town Hall. She's been creating art long before she came to Clayton, serving as faculty in the art department at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh and at the Art Institute of Chicago.
I studied art in college. In Pittsburgh. I went to Carnegie Mellon, stayed there for 6 years. And yeah, I've done art all my life and in various phases of it.
Ever since he was a little boy, Mark Hale has always remembered his father at the easel as well.
Oh yeah, I think it's definitely an innate talent with him. He's done it his whole life. He's gone through all kinds of different phases and themes, and he's kind of settled on this landscape theme here later in life, but it's probably one of my favorite, and so yeah, he's been painting pretty much his whole life.
It's not romantic landscapes, but multicolored patchworks that are the signature of Demboski's paintings. If they seem to have a quilt-like quality, that's because Demboski spent 15 years designing patchwork quilts and clothing for mountain artisans in West Virginia, a cooperative of artisan women who would go on to garner international reputations and win Demboski 2 coveted Cody Awards, essentially the equivalent of Oscars in the world of fashion. She explains how she helped give birth to the inspiring group.
I was living in West Virginia. I was living in Charleston. I met a friend who worked for the Department of Commerce there. They were trying to bring jobs to West Virginia. And they had a little brainstorming session and saying, we've got all these women who make quilts in West Virginia. Why can't we
market this or
figure
do something yeah.
out to get these things on the market. So we got together, and then we had this other brilliant idea, like, well, let's take the old technique and apply new design to it, and take the concept of a quilt and see if we can't kind of convey it in a more modern way. And then out of that grew, well, let's take a quilt and turn it into a skirt. So that was the era of hostess skirts.
Oh, wow.
So we packed our little bag, went to New York, the New York fashion market, and got discovered. And the next thing you knew, we were we were selling our goods to Lord & Taylor, Bergdorf Goodman, Henri Bendel, Saks Fifth Avenue, and we had to rally our women and teach them the business of production sewing. So it was an odd sort of
wow.
backing into this thing. It all happened, and then we suddenly had to figure it out.
Yeah, yeah.
But it worked for 15 years.
After 15 years of designing fashion lines for the world of high fashion, Demboski took a break and moved to the mountains of West Virginia, where these ink paintings were inspired.
This is bright, modern, and it's
Right.
like uplifting.
Yeah.
Because of the colors.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, it's, you know,
Well,
it's not typically what I would expect, but yet I like it. So.
yeah.
It is, however, her colorful patchworks that elicit the most joyful reactions from visitors to the Clayton Center.
These paintings actually came out of the whole idea of building a grid, building a structure, which is what you do when you design a quilt.
Right, right.
How do you take 16 different blocks and put them together and unify them or make them express something?
Right.
And I can't not do detail anymore. I try. Every now and then I try to do just a very simple piece, and I walk away from it and come right back and, oh, I got to put little dots on it. I got to do something.
And it's not all two-dimensional.
It's a lightning bolt.
Okay.
It's a thunderbolt. Actually, it was originally going to be a lamp. But it never.
Is this acrylic?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're beautiful.
Well, thank you.
There's so much detail, so much going on, you're bound to find something interesting in all of her works.
I love pattern. And in fact, if you were to go into my studio today, I have boxes of fabric swatches. And when I kind of get stuck, I'll go into the box of fabric swatches and pull out what might be a design on a piece of curtain drapery. And I say, oh, that's an interesting leaf. I'm gonna borrow this leaf and put it in here.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So I was constantly, and that's part of the process too that I used when I was designing the clothing and the home furnishings.
Right. You'd look
You
at
know, you're constantly looking for things you can use.
Tom Hale was also lucky enough to make a career out of his art. He's worked as an art director and creative director with major ad agencies and earned recognition in international competitions. His work has been commissioned by corporate giants like Media General and the Virginia Wildlife and Game Commission. And he has a studio right now in Richmond's Fan District. When the two artists get together, you bet they revel in each other's love of art.
It's been a great family relationship, and of course, Tom and I, when we get together, that's what we do. We sit and talk art. And, you know, artists love to talk art, so.
I don't know if they critique each other's stuff, but they talk shop and creative stuff. So, yeah.
And both artists know that stuff is more than just something to look at. Demboski says art is a real economic driver. She moved to Clayton, she says, at an exciting time when the town was just realizing the more art, the more vibrant the community.
Without it, you've just got sort of a bland, like, okay, now what? Mm-hmm. Because art, if you've got a flourishing art scene, you're going to have flourishing restaurants, you're going to have little boutique shops, you're going to have bookstores.
Yeah.
You know, and it just opens up.
Builds on each
Yeah.
other. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, big industry and big box stuff is good, but you need the community of art to sort of give the flavor and the identity.
To a town. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Rotating exhibitions like these at the Clayton Center, upcoming public art projects, and other Clayton Visual Arts events only help to keep that art community thriving.
I work for the state and I work in the field a lot, so I go through towns through all of North Carolina, and Clayton seems to be one of the most progressive as far as trying to get artwork exposed, you know, to the population and to their citizens. So I think it's a great thing.
So look for more exciting things to come from Clayton's artists.
And, you know, as far as my personal art goes, as long as I can continue to push a brush, I will continue to paint.